Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you, depending where you are in the world. I'm here in London doing the nighttime devotion from the devotional Christ Triumphant. The title today, God's methods of training different from man's. Exodus 2 verse 15. Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. Moses spent 40 years as a shepherd of flocks to prepare him to understand himself, to purify himself by emptying himself so that the Lord could accomplish his will in him. The Lord does not take for his workers mere machines in intellect or feelings. Both are essential to do the work, but these human elements of character must be purged from defects, not by talking of the will of God, but by doing his will. If any will do his will, they shall know of the doctrine. Moses was under training to God. He endured a long process of mental training to fit him to be leader of the armies of Israel. Inspiration will come to people of God's appointment, but not to those who retain a high idea of their own mental superiority. Every person whom God will use to do his will must have humble ideas of self and must seek in persevering earnestness for light. God will not require any person to become a novice and to sink down into a voluntary humility, but become more and more incapacitated. God calls upon everyone with whom he works to do the very highest kind of thinking and praying and hoping and believing. Many have, as had Moses, very much to unlearn in order to learn the very lessons they needed to learn. Moses had need to be self-trained by severest mental and moral discipline, and God wrought with him before he could be fitted to train others in mind and heart. He had been instructed in the Egyptian courts. Nothing was left as unnecessary to train him to become a general of armies. The false theories of the idolatrous Egyptians had been instilled into his mind, and the influences surrounding him and the things his eyes looked upon could not be easily shaken off or corrected. Thus it is with many who have had a false training in any line. All the idolatrous rubbish of heathen law must be removed, bit by bit, item by item, from Moses' mind. Jethro helped him in many things to a correct faith. As far as he himself understood, he was working upward toward the light where he could see God in singleness of heart. God, Jehovah, was revealed to him. This thorough intellectual training in Egypt and as a shepherd among the mountains in the pure air made him a strong thinker and a strong doer of the word of God. And the title says it all: God's methods of training different from man's. And the most pertinent thing, I think, from my personal opinion, is where it says we have to completely unlearn everything we've been taught. Because it's all wrong. And then completely relearn. To understand not just his work for us, but we cannot do any work for God with the world in our minds. The false theories of the idolatrous Egyptians had been instilled into his mind. The influences surrounded him, the things that his eyes saw. They couldn't be shaken off or corrected. They had to be taken out of him bit by bit, item by item. And that's the same with us. If you are seeking God's will for your life, be prepared to go through the wilderness. That is the only time. Yes, you will suffer. Maybe, if you understand what's happening, maybe you won't suffer. It will seem like a sufferance in worldly ways. But it'll be for the good. Definitely be for the good. Perseverance. And being consistent. And knowing that God is working in your life.